Hello and welcome to this edition of Standard Deviation, my column and video series. I'm TCA Sharad Raghavan, Deputy Editor at ThePrint, and I'm going to be talking to you about my latest column on how subsidies are here to stay because they're the only thing working in reducing poverty, but this isn't a great thing for the country. Low income levels at the bottom of the pyramid, a frustrating lack of accurate consumption data, and limited avenues for income growth have meant that India is stuck fighting poverty through subsidies and freebies rather than with more effective, long-lasting measures. In other words, rather than making people less poor by increasing their income levels, the attempt is, and increasingly will be, to instead help them spend less. This is not a great situation to be in. Subsidies are politically difficult to withdraw, and they impose an increasing burden on government finances each subsequent year. Improvements made through government schemes that don't entail continued subsidies also run the risk of being undone once those subsidies run out, as has happened with the toilets built and the gas connections provided. In any case, by trying to reduce people's expenditure on essentials, the government is at most helping the poor stay afloat rather than really pulling them out of poverty. The problem, as Niti Aayog's update to its multi-dimensional poverty index shows, is that much of the progress made in poverty reduction has occurred in areas that benefit heavily from subsidies and schemes at the central and state levels. These include access to cooking fuel, sanitation, drinking water, electricity, housing, and bank accounts. Indicators like education and health, both of which have a more significant impact on long-term poverty reduction, have seen distressingly low levels of improvement. The sharpest improvement, a reduction of 21.8 percentage points between 2015-16 and 2019-20, was seen in the sanitation category, which measures the percentage of households that are deprived of exclusive access to a modern toilet. Now, it would not be a stretch to attribute a large part of this improvement to the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, launched by the centre in 2014 to eliminate open defecation. Several states have also taken this up as a priority. The second largest improvement was in the cooking fuel category. Here too, a large part of the improvement can be attributed to the PM Ujjwala Yojana, which was launched in May 2016 to provide households with a gas connection, especially poor households. Now, the thing is, simply providing people with these amenities does not improve their quality of life for too long if it is not backed with either education or continued financial support. So, there have been multiple reports from across the country that the Swachh Bharat toilets were lying unused and in some cases were even converted into shops. Of course, the toilets have on average improved living conditions, but their impact has been diluted. Rising gas prices have also meant that many gas connections provided under the PMUY weren't renewed once the first free cylinder ran out. In a bid to encourage people to continue using gas instead of wood fires or coal, the government has had to continue a pretty expensive subsidy program. Why aren't the middle class or the rich complaining about the price of gas? It's because the gas bill consumes a tiny part of their overall income. If the government wants the poor to continue spending on gas without also having to subsidize them, there's no other way than to increase their incomes. Now that's of course way easier said than done, and that's why the subsidy burden will continue. It needs to. The other multi-dimensional poverty indicators where India has seen substantial, although more minor improvements are access to electricity, bank accounts, housing, and water. All of these are areas where the central government or the state governments or both have spent a lot of money in schemes and subsidies. An important point to be made is that poverty alleviation is more than just providing basic essentials and leaving things at that. Yes, a roof over one's head, access to electricity, drinking water, and cooking gas are all absolutely essential for everybody. But aspirations don't end there. People want more, as they should, and that's just not going to happen without enhancing their incomes. They will continue to view themselves as poor, and without official data, that's perhaps the most accurate measure we have. One of the most important and accurate measures of poverty is the government's Household Consumption Expenditure Survey, which measures household incomes as well as their expenditure. The latest data available is more than a decade old, for 2011-12. The government had in 2019 scrapped the results of the survey conducted for 2017-18. Since then, we haven't had a survey. Even the much cited and refuted IMF paper by Surjit Bhalla, Karan Bhasin and Arvind Virmani, which said that poverty and inequality had not been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, had to include free food transfers by the government to arrive at this conclusion. Even they couldn't rely on just income and expenditure data because there isn't any recent data to work with. This lack of official data has meant analysts have had to look at other metrics to see how those at the bottom rungs of the economic ladder are doing. There's no need to really look hard to see how the upper levels are doing. It's called conspicuous consumption for a reason. But poverty is measured by absences. The absence of sales of two-wheelers or small cars, for example. If a household feels it cannot afford to buy a two-wheeler right now, it's highly likely it considers itself poor. And if it considers itself poor, it's quite obviously not happy with the current state of things. This does not bode well for incumbent politicians. The overwhelming feeling is that the bottom half of India is not doing well at all. They're just about getting by, and there's very little scope for any improvement anytime soon. This means subsidies are here to stay. Worryingly, it also means that subsidy expenditure will likely increase as politicians try to meet a wider set of aspirations through more diverse freebies. On that note, that's all from me. Thank you so much for watching.